Hi, it's Paul from Wicked Acorn. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I want to tell you about one of my new favorite Christmas movies. I have a whole bunch, but a few years ago I discovered a movie called Joyeux Noel. It's about the Christmas Truce that took place during the First World War. I started to do a little research on it, and it quickly became apparent that many people think it's a myth. So let's take a look at the Christmas Truce to see if it really did happen. The Manchester Guardian, December 31st, 1914. Last night we moved back into our old trenches. I got in very late, but I had to go around, which I always do, but did so more especially because the next day was Christmas Day, and I wanted to see the state of the trenches throughout our section. Had it not been freezing, they would have been awful. But as it was just freezing, the top crust was comforting. But in places, one sunk nearly up to one's knees in mud. At 11 p.m. on December 24th, there was absolute peace, bar a little sniping and a few rounds from a machine gun, and then no more. The King was sung, and then you heard, "Tomorrow is Christmas! If you don't fight, we won't!" And the answer came back, "All right!" One officer met a Bavarian, smoked a cigarette, and had a talk with him about halfway between the lines. Then a few men fraternized in the same way, and really today, peace has existed. Men have been talking together, and they had a football match with a bully beef tin, and one man went over and cut a German's hair.
Happy Christmas. Frohe Weihnachten.
Around this time of year here in the UK, everybody eagerly awaits the Christmas adverts. These 2 to 3 minute mini movies are usually very touching. They give you goosebumps and sometimes melt your heart. It marks the beginning of the Christmas season. Now back in 2014, Sainsbury, that's one of the supermarkets here, did a Christmas advert celebrating the 100th anniversary of the Christmas Truce. It's great, and I'm not knocking it at all, but when it's played alongside adverts about aliens from outer space getting stranded on Earth for Christmas, there's no wonder that some people think the Christmas Truce is a myth. The movie Joyeux Noel came out in 2005, and the Christmas advert was almost 10 years ago. So some of you may have never heard of the Christmas Truce, or know little of the First World War. At the beginning of World War I, people were saying it'll be over by Christmas, but it wasn't. Many went from fear of an early end to the war to wishing for it. In the beginning it was fast moving, but soon both sides bogged down and there was little or no forward movement. Little ground was taken and it quickly turned into trench warfare. The tactics of all the previous wars were useless. They had to learn how to fight a new kind of war. This was the introduction to modern warfare. The war was young, only a few months old in December, and most historians will tell you that's why the Christmas Truce happened. The major atrocities of the war were yet to come. Gas attacks and battles like the Somme were years away. But by now they knew this wasn't what they signed on for. Trench warfare was boring, dirty, and very, very dangerous. Freezing cold, knee-deep mud, no movement, and a near constant barrage of enemy shells. A truce or a ceasefire was not a new thing in warfare. Often this would happen during wars, usually to bury the dead and to clear the battlefield for the next fight. But these were usually arranged by the higher-ups in command. The 1914 Christmas Truce was different. It wasn't arranged, and it didn't happen all along the Western Front. It happened spontaneously and in isolated sections of the front. In some places, not at all. The movie Joyeux Noel is a fictionalized account of it. It takes a whole bunch of these events that by all accounts really did take place that Christmas and melds them into one. A quick synopsis of Joyeux Noel. From the German trenches, tiny lights appear. These turn out to be lighted Christmas trees. Then we hear someone singing Silent Night in German. The Allies join in, and the next thing you know, some brave soldier walks into no man's land, arms raised as a sign of peace. The officers call a truce to bury the dead. A few days of peace ensue until they're ordered back to fighting by the high command. You have to suspend disbelief a little bit for this movie, although it's not too bad on the believability scale once you immerse yourself in it. It is a fictionalized account after all. The Kaiser did send thousands of Christmas trees to the front for the soldiers. He also sent a famous tenor to sing for them, but I'm pretty sure he didn't bring his girlfriend. One of my favorite parts of the movie is the little cat Felix, or is it Nestor? The little cat has no allegiance. He goes back and forth from the French to the German side. This happened in real life, but the cat was ceremonially executed for being a spy. The cast refused to participate in that scene. The Germans give letters to send to loved ones. These type of things really happened in the Christmas Truce. Many Germans had worked in Britain before the war and could speak perfect English. One asked Lieutenant John Wedderburn Maxwell of the Royal Field Artillery to post a letter to his girlfriend in Manchester, which the British officer duly did. There are various reports of impromptu football matches. Soldiers did bring footballs to the front. They would toss the ball into no man's land before an assault, and the men would advance towards the enemy by kicking the ball forward. But after 5 years in this country, I can attest that you do not need a football for a football kickabout to happen. Everything becomes a football, even a bully beef tin. Historians are reluctant to say what happened, reluctant to make assertions, but there are too many first-hand accounts for it to be all made up. This was before letters from the front were censored and newspapers were free to print such stories. What did it do for morale? No doubt it lifted people's spirits back home, knowing their loved ones had a little peace at Christmas. There are many photos of the Christmas truce. Soldiers brought their own cameras to the front, but were discouraged from taking pictures. However, there are many photos of German and British soldiers fraternizing. This photo shows Rifleman Malcolm Grigg during the Christmas truce, surrounded by his new German friends. Later, Grigg received a commission in the 17th Manchesters. He was killed in action at Trones Wood on the 9th of July, aged 22. Another letter that appeared in the Manchester Guardian says it best. This one appears to be from the German perspective. Suddenly, from the enemy, hurrahing was heard. And, surprised, we came from our mouse holes and saw the English advancing towards us, waving cigarette boxes, handkerchiefs, and towels. They had no rifles with them, and therefore we knew it could only be a greeting, and that it was all right. We advanced towards them about halfway. We were only about 200 meters from each other. The greeting took place in the presence of officers from both sides. Cigarettes, cigars, and many other things were exchanged, and even snapshots of both sides were taken. The English began playing with a football they had with them. On darkness descending, both sides returned to their drawing rooms, having promised that for the next 3 days of the holidays they would not fire on each other. This promise was given as a word of honor and extended on both sides to the artillery as well as the cavalry and infantry. The French lay a little further away and therefore did not take part in this. They were under fire the whole day by our artillery. We were able to move about the whole of Christmas Day with absolute freedom. It was a day of peace in war. It is only a pity that it was not a decisive peace. Thanks for watching. Drop us a comment and wish us a Merry Christmas. I'll put a link to the movie Joyeux Noel in the description.